Hola Valeria, ¿cómo estás?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. It's so good to see you. It's
Yeah.
been a while. We were in college together for I would say like a couple years. I'm a little older than you, but yeah, we were a few of the Latinx kids on campus, and so we made sure to connect in some capacity.
Very few, yes.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I think that you sharing your story will make so much of an impact and just awareness about your story. So I'll make sure for you to share that. But before we delve into that conversation, I would like to know a little bit more about yourself if you can tell our listeners, and what do you currently do?
Hi. So I am a third grade teacher. I teach at a dual language school here in Rockford, Illinois, the only dual language school in our district. I've been teaching for 8 years, and all those 8 years I have been in third grade, and I love it. I love seeing the children progress with their English and Spanish language, and it's just really fun. And I love what I do. And I'm really excited to be on your podcast. So thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And thank you for allowing yourself to be here, because I know that these conversations aren't kind of rainbows and butterflies. There is also part of part of pregnancy and motherhood in general. There's a lot of unexpected things that can come.
Mhm.
And oftentimes there is this narrative in our culture where it's all going to be perfect, it's all going to be great. And we don't talk about grief, we don't talk about loss. And so this is why I wanted to have you here, just so that you can talk about your experience. And so I personally know your story, and I really
Mhm.
appreciate you being outspoken out there
Mhm.
through your Instagram platform. And so would you be willing to share to our listeners about your first pregnancy? And you can share in whichever capacity, but I also want to make sure that our listeners can have a space with you, and that way you can
Mhm.
allow what your experience was, and also those that may not experience this yet but may have this type of experience in the future.
So my first pregnancy was like really bliss. The first, the decision that we took to decide to expand our family, we just kind of acted on it right away. And right away, we got pregnant, like after the first try. So I was really shocked because I also did hear that, sometimes it might take a year, a couple months,
Mm-hmm.
but with us, it was just right away. And so we were very excited about that. It was like prime time COVID and lockdown. And so we would just kind of like kept to ourselves, stayed home, made sure we stayed safe. We were like going to doctor visits. Everything was going very well. We had our gender reveal. That's where we found out we were going to have a girl, and everybody was so excited. Our family. It was definitely the first girl on my side of the family because my sister has a boy. And so they were all
Mm-hmm.
excited it was going to be a girl. It was the first granddaughter of my husband's side, first grandchild. So they were super excited. Everything was going super well until around like maybe end of September, October of 2020, where I did see some signs that just felt off to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I kind of trusted in my OB to, have my back, to check on me. But she just kind of pushed me off as like normal pregnancy symptoms. And, in my heart, I knew that it wasn't right because I just felt a lot of like swollen. I knew I was going to be swollen like in my feet, my hands,
Mm-hmm.
but it just felt too early and too much. Like I had to elevate my feet so much. And just like, the discharge wasn't looking right. And then she just pushed it off as like, you're fine. It's normal pregnancy symptoms. And then the morning of October 5th was when I just started getting like sharp pain. And so I was like, something is wrong. So we ended up going to the ER. I was rushed to the like birthing floor. And then I was checked, and they were like, we see membranes that are, coming out. And my sister had gone through a loss also.
Mm.
And so it was just like, is this something that's going to happen in my family? And my sister had to get a cervical cerclage done. So it's essentially a stitch in your cervix to prevent it from opening too early.
Mm.
And I asked for that, and they were like, it's too late for that because it's like, the membranes are coming out of your cervix. And so they were like, we just have to wait. And we're going to try to wait until you're wanting me to wait until I was 25 weeks. And I guess 25 weeks is, I guess the first week of viability. And she had a better chance of surviving at
Mm-hmm.
25 weeks. And so I was in the hospital for about maybe 3 days, 4
Mm-hmm.
days. And then contractions started kicking in. And I just, we had to have her. We couldn't wait any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And so throughout that, nurses were coming in and out, doctors were coming in and out. Everybody was saying that girls born premature do have a higher chance of surviving. And so everybody was just like, it's going to be okay. She's going to survive. Like, we're going to do everything we can. Don't worry. Like, she's going to make it. And so as soon as she was born, right away they put her in like the little NICU bed and they just rushed her out. And then my husband also followed. They told my husband to
Mm-hmm.
follow. And then, they're getting me all like ready and then a nurse comes running in and she's like, "Mom, you have to come." And so the nurse was like, rushing to get me out of bed. They got me a wheelchair. They're like
Mm-hmm.
running me down the hall. And in that NICU room, everybody just has, that face where that she didn't make it. I think honestly that is, still continues to be the worst moment of anybody's life. You're wanting to start a family and to have to see your child die is the worst thing I think that could happen to anybody. People say like, people obviously get upset when their mom or dad dies, but they were able to live a full life,
Yeah.
do all these experiences, grow up, do whatever they want. But, my daughter didn't have that chance. And so after that, they bring in a priest, they baptize her. We get to stay with her for the night. And so it was during COVID, they weren't allowing visitors. But in certain circumstances, they do. So my parents rushed to the hospital. My in-laws rushed to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily they were able to see her and say goodbye. And which, we're really grateful that the hospital did let them in for that. And so there's an organization in Rockford called the Haven Network.
Mm-hmm.
And they work a lot with bereaved families and families who have experienced loss. And the nurse actually asked me if I wanted them to call the organization. And I was like, I don't know what that is.
Sure.
And she said, they come, they take pictures of the baby, they come and take pictures with you and the baby. They make a ton of like memories, like they make you a memory box. They give you handprints, footprints. They come and bring her little blankets. She has this little headband that they gave her. And like, they dress her up, they make her look nice for the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And they offer services after, like therapy. They give you a whole album, like picture book. And so, I also thank the nurses in that organization too for helping us, through the most horrible night of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my gosh, Valeria, like this is just powerful that you are sharing this, that you walked us through this, because I'm sure that, I mean, you are still experiencing grief. It's only been 2 years. And,
Hmm.
I do remember the time that you shared this, and just oftentimes in our culture, we don't talk about, you have these high expectations in pregnancy and in childbirth, like everything is going to be okay. And the medical professionals were telling you everything is going to be okay. But I read that 1 in 4 pregnancies women can miscarry or can lose, a child in, whether if it's stillbirth or early on in their pregnancy. And so that's something that we still have to be mindful and not ignore, because it can happen to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And like how you said, your pregnancy was perfect. It was great. You are a healthy woman. And it's just interesting how oftentimes we are not equipped or prepared for this until it happens. And so I'm glad that you found the support through the Haven Network, and I'll make sure to share that, especially for our listeners who are in the Rockford area, kind of that part of Illinois. But in terms of like finding that support, is it something that you truly took advantage of, or was it just a way for you to just get in touch with other moms or parents who went through a similar experience as you?
Yeah, so the Haven Network provided me with a year of free grief therapy,
Mm.
and anyone in our family could have taken advantage of that as well. So they, were really, 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 I'm really thankful that they did do that, because that was just my first time ever experiencing therapy.
Mm.
And it was at a time where I did really need it, because I just felt so alone in my grief
Yeah.
that I really had no one to connect with at that time. And so during therapy, like, helped a lot with my grief. I was going maybe like twice a week for a very long time. And even through my second pregnancy, the therapist was like, you know what, you can still keep coming throughout your pregnancy, and I won't charge you, because my year was already up. And so I continued to go, and that really helped me a lot. Just being able to, vent and cry to somebody that maybe isn't family, that doesn't really understand that
Yes.
kind of loss. And then, once I was in a better mind space, I did reach out, to Instagram. They always like pop up with things that you kind of search for. And so I really
Mm.
did connect with other lost moms all over the country who
Mm.
have experienced loss. And that has also helped me a lot. I have a really good friend, Hema, who is in the Bay Area, and we, message each other all the time when we're just not feeling good, or, when something triggers us. And she does lives on Instagram, and I'm always joining. And,
Mm.
even if it's just a time where we could kind of just forget about it also, but know that we do have that connection,
Mm-hmm.
also helps a lot.